To start the recording. Oh, thank you so much. I just got that. Right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today and bearing with us with all these changes to our state funding quarterly report. As you know, our office has been working with UCASA and with your ED subgroup and getting your feedback to try and make this report as helpful as possible. And so we've put in some changes that I think everybody is going to appreciate. And so I'm going to go over that. This should be fairly quick and easy, but you'll be able to watch this recording a little bit later if you need a refresher. So what I have showing, I hope that you can see, is the quarterly report Excel template. And then in the invitation, you also received instructions that is new. And so if I'm going to go along with the instructions, and so if you want to have that out in front of you so you can go along, I'm not going to be going through everything in there. I'm going to ask that you actually read through that before you complete the report next time. But I will give you some important information with that. So we will just get started. So on the screen, you should see the cover sheet. We've added a little bit more information here. You are going to actually see this already uploaded in the files of your system. It's going to have your information put in there, including your award total. But what we're asking you to do is fill in your total rape crisis program budget. And so this is going to be everything that your organization would put toward your rape crisis center. And so you will want to include your direct and indirect costs in that number as well. Once you put that in there, you're going to get a total populated in that state funds percentage box. You should only have to do this one time. You're going to be using the same template every time that you upload it. So do that once and it's done. And then one thing I do want to mention before we get any further, we found a lot of problems with locking the report, right? Because you will try to put your narrative sections in there and you can't expand. So we're going to leave it unlocked, but we're going to ask you to please, please don't touch any of the gray boxes because that's what has formulas in there. And we can't tell if something's been changed. If a number's off, we'll get bad data. So please don't touch those boxes. Those things should populate automatically. Okay, moving over to the demographics page. Let's see. So you are going to, as before, you're going to be reporting on all of the data for your entire rape crisis center. That's what you're going to put in the demographics and the scope of work and the narrative sections. So nothing has changed for the victims served. You're still going to be entering that information in the same. Of course, for counting a victim in your rape crisis center, it's all SA survivors who receive direct services from your rape crisis center staff or volunteers. And so if that has occurred, then we want you to count that victim there. All right, so moving down. The following demographics questions should only be completed for new victims. So as you are filling in race, ethnicity, gender, age, all of that is for only the new victims that you're reported there. I noticed in the last quarter that some of them, some of your reports were coming through and demographics were being reported for all victims. And so please just keep that in mind. The reason being is that you've already reported those demographics if that person is not new that quarter. You'll notice that we have updated the demographics for race, ethnicity, gender, and the other demographics. And we are using the OVW changes. We are just mirroring the changes that they have made simply because those are probably the most research-based and a lot more inclusive than they used to be. We wish OVC or your VOCA reports were doing the same thing, but hopefully they will catch up soon. But you'll be able to see that whatever you're pulling for your VAWA reports and your SAS reports for demographics will be the same here. Another change also on the race and ethnicity and the gender is previously we asked you to just list one, but best practice now is you are going to just put at least one race and ethnicity must be reported for each victim. So it has to be, if you look down at the total on line 22, total should be equal to or greater to the cell in row 5, which would be all new victims. So if somebody is reporting multiple races, go ahead and put it in there. It would be helpful to you, I think, if you went through and read through those definitions in your instructions page. There's a lot of helpful information in there. I know we got a lot of questions on the other demographics, what those actually mean, and those are spelled out really nicely in those instructions. The other big change in the demographics section is this victimization type. So we've really just simplified this question. You're going to report in question 6, the number of child rape, adult sexually assaulted as children, and sexual harassment that you served that quarter. And then the next question is victimization specific to intimate partner violence. So of those that you reported in question 6, how many were a part of intimate partner violence? And then there's been no change to the relationship to the offender. Okay. Do realize that we are giving you this report and it is due at the end of next month. So if you do find that you're having trouble pulling data that you weren't already tracking, or if it wasn't tracked in the way that your system can pull out a report, that's okay. We do have a section added here in row 80, where if there's any issues with the data that you need to explain to us, you can put that in here. And moving forward for the 4th quarter, then you'll be able to report everything as the report intended. Okay, are there any questions before I move on? Any questions in the chat? Oh, again, feel free to put questions in the chat and we can take them afterwards as well.
Melissa, I had a question. For multiple victimizations, we're just reporting out on one survivor, right?
That's a great question. What we're asking you to do, I'm going to refer to my instructions so I don't say it wrong. So we're asking you to indicate the victimization type as it is reported by the victim. There may be more than one victimization per victim. So yes, if they report sexual assault as a child and they also report adult rape and you're serving them for both, then you would put it here. If you're not actually providing them services for that, then we wouldn't want you to include it.
Understandable. What about if it's repeat adult sexual abuse in the quarter?
So you're saying they have multiple victimizations that are separated?
Mm-hmm.
I would, unless it's a different victimization, then I would just count it as one. You're still serving that person, because we're counting victims here.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's move over to the scope of work. All right, on this section, we have just clarified a few of the definitions here. Again, read through the instructions. That will be really helpful. We are asking that you fill out the narrative section for each one of these each quarter, and then just report on the number of services that were provided by that quarter. We made this a little bit user-friendly, so we've given you boxes for each quarter, so you don't have to mess with that, the issues with that narrative box. One thing that I want to highlight specifically for the crisis intervention, accompaniment, and advocacy, if you look in the instructions, it is specifying that you're counting the services here, not the victim. So the number of services. And then coming down to public education. Well, this is such a tricky one for us. We messed with it for such a long time because there's so many different types of public education that you all are doing, and we want to capture everything. We might play with this more in the future as we start to see more prevention or outreach projects pop up. But for now, what we're asking you to do is look at the quarter, and in the quarter, if you have provided one of these types of services, you can just check mark that in the box. If it's not listed here, there's an other. And then in the narrative section is where we're going to ask you to really give us that information. So if you did community presentations, how many did you do? You know, what data do you have on that? How many people were present? What was the information that was given? Use that box to really put that information in there. And then what we wanted to mention is we did go through and added your quarter 1 and quarter 2 to the existing report that has been uploaded in your system. But this section doesn't really transfer well. So take a look at this as you are filling in your quarter 3, double check and make sure that the boxes are checked correctly for your quarter 1 and quarter 2. Okay. Um, you can still use, oh, maybe not. I thought I had the pop-out still here. Yes, we do. We still have the pop-outs here, but again, most of the instructions have been taken out of this and pulled into that Word doc. Any questions on the scope of work? Well, lastly, we have the narrative section here. See if I can make that a little smaller. No, not a lot of changes here. We just added one question, and that question is surrounding administrative costs. So we're asking you to talk about what these funds supported for your admin costs and where you still see an area of need for that. We just have found through talking with you all that that has really been an important piece of this, and we want to be able to show the legislature, you know, how that's being used. And again, each one of these quarters you can fill in. This information is very helpful to us. I know it can be a little bit tedious to do this every quarter, but as much info that you can give us will be very helpful. Okay, I think that's really all of the changes. Shannon, am I missing anything? And Tally is here and Liliana is here, so if you guys have anything that you want to add, please feel free to jump in.
This is Sonia. I just have a clarifying question because I don't want to assume. So the section where we were doing narratives around the standards of care, that's been removed?
No, the scope of work, the standards of care are still all here. So you are,
Oh, I see. It's just been reformatted.
yeah, we just added quarter boxes so that you can, you know, do it for each quarter. And this is a blank template, but your report should have those filled in, I believe. Is that right, Shannon? Okay. I did put in quarter 1 and quarter 2 for each of the standards.
Great, thank you.
This is Trudy. I have a question about on the cover sheet where it asks about our percentage and we're determining I assume that's probably for proration. Um, give me the story behind that proration number. Does that need to be, is that an accounting thing that like across all of our grants, that proration needs to be exactly the same? Because as we started on the others, like on the VOCAs and stuff at the beginning of the year, the numbers have changed just a little bit. So it's not the exact same number. Is that a problem for like auditing and accounting?
So you're saying that the percentage changes?
No, it just changed from the beginning of the year because you assume you're going to get funding and then it either comes or it doesn't come. And so the total amount will change.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's okay that it's not matching up with another number, if that's what you mean. This is
Okay.
really just so that we can show just another tool for us to be able to say, here's everything that's happening, and then here's the portion that the state funds are supporting.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm. Anything else?
And Melissa, just one more clarifying question that's specific to the RRC. Obviously, this is intended, um, okay, hold on. Row 14. You said both direct and indirect. So for the RRC, would this be our total org budget?
Yes, I can't think of a reason why it would be there's anything to pull out.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah. That's correct. Shannon, oh, sorry, go ahead. It sounded like somebody was starting to talk. Well, Shannon and I talked about how we could easily get this information out to you all too, just to kind of get an idea of what's being done. Of course, we'll do that at the end of the year anyway, but we may use this template and then just put all the data in there, send that out so that everybody has a chance to just see, you know, how the state is doing and everything. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, that's all we wanted to provide to you. Please reach out to us if you do have anything further. And we have plenty of more information coming up. As you know, the new state funding cycle will start July 1, 2024. And so just look for those emails from us.